Hello, my name is Julie Johnson. I am a pediatric rehab physician in South Dakota in the United States. And I want to thank you for inviting me to talk about one of my passions, which is children with Down syndrome and using orthotics to help provide a more stable base of support to improve function. So we have several objectives today. The first objective is to describe what we know about children with Down syndrome in relation to their muscles and ligaments. We'll talk about motor development and foot and ankle alignment. I'd also like to introduce you to the various types of orthotics that are available to help children with Down syndrome or low muscle tone. And then lastly, we'll talk a little bit in this second objective about which children might benefit from which type of orthotics. Lastly, we'll review the recent literature regarding Down syndrome and the use of orthotics in children with lower muscle tone and Down syndrome. A specific general disclaimer, I will discuss some specific brands of orthotics today. I just want everyone to know that I have no affiliations of any kind to disclose with any of the orthotic companies. So the general, well-known or recognized definition of an expert is a person who has a comprehensive and authoritative knowledge or a skill in a particular area. The definition of expert that we will be using today is a person from out of town with a PowerPoint presentation. That gives me the opportunity to be an expert. So again, who am I? I'm a pediatric rehabilitation physician, which is also called a physiatrist, and I've been practicing in the area of rehabilitation medicine since 1992. I work closely on a day-to-day basis with patients and their families, as well as orthotists who make braces, physical therapists, and others. My primary goal is to provide the best possible care for the children and families so that they can promote their best improved functional independence and abilities. So what do we know about Down syndrome that helps us better understand standing ability? Well, first of all, we're going to describe what we already know about children with Down syndrome. Some of this will be a review from what Dr. Poppy and Dr. Cerny has already discussed with you. As we now all know, young children with Down syndrome have lower muscle tone and ligamentous laxity. This leads to hypermobility or excessive movement at their joints. Children with Down syndrome additionally have weak muscles that need to be strengthened. All of these things lead to delays in gross motor milestone achievement. As Dr. Cerny discussed, we know that many children with Down syndrome have difficulty integrating sensory information. And we also know that children have decreased balance. We also know that almost all children with Down syndrome walk. So if that is true, why are we talking about orthotics? In the following slides, I'm going to explain to you why I feel that orthotics are beneficial for helping children's gait and standing with children with Down syndrome. So we use orthotics for several reasons. One of the main reasons is to provide foot and ankle support and to correct the malalignment that is caused by the ligamentous laxity. We see in children with Down syndrome and other children with lower muscle tone that there is a loss of the longitudinal arch of the foot. We call this pronation. Additionally, there is a tipping of the heel, and this is known as hindfoot valgus or eversion in medical terms. The front part of the foot tends to turn out, and this is called forefoot abduction. This is an example of foot malalignment. You can see here that there is a tipping of the heel. The heel usually would go straight up and down. Additionally, the front part of the foot turns out. This is called forefoot abduction. It's a little more difficult to see in these projections, but there is a loss of the arch of the foot. Orthotic support provides several things that are beneficial. The orthotics will improve the overall alignment that we just looked at in the previous slide. When the alignment is improved, there is more even pressure distribution in the foot and a more stable base of support from which the children can better stand and walk. The overall theory is that orthotic improves their gait or their walking abilities. When the changes that we see with the improvement in gait include a more narrow base of support, so their feet are closer together. The gait is less out-toed, so the toes are pointing more forward, and the children exhibit increased balance and stability. Additional goals for orthotic use are to provide support and control while the children are growing. We want to prevent bad habits or compensatory strategies for the foot and ankle that happen when the foot and ankle is not supported by an orthotic. This is an example of an older child's feet who has not been wearing orthotics. You can see that there is a significant tilt to the heel. In this projection, it's a little more difficult to see what is happening in the front of the foot, but this shows very well the loss of the arch. In addition to just the arch being flat, this child is weight-bearing on bones here that are usually suspended up in the arch. These bones here are not meant to be weight-bearing bones. So now let's take a look at some of the different types of orthotics that we can use. These are the major types of orthotics. The FO, or the foot orthotic as it is called, provides mostly support from the plantar surface or the bottom of the foot. As we go up higher, we come to the UCBL. UCBL stands for the University of California Biomechanicals Laboratory, which is a long term, thus we use UCBL. This goes up a little bit higher on the foot and helps to provide a little bit more support. As we go up higher, we come to the SMO, or supramalleolar orthotic. Your malleoli are your ankle bones on either side of your ankle. So this orthosis, or brace, comes up over the ankle bones to provide some better support. One of the difficulties is that there are no good guidelines about which orthotics to use for which child. This has been studied, and there are not guidelines that are easy to interpret. We often use general guidelines or principles that have been found to be helpful and useful. The foot orthotic and UCBLs, so the less supportive orthotics, are typically used most often in children with less ligamentous laxity and less difficulties with their overall alignment. These are also used in children who are lighter weight and shorter. The SMO orthotic, or supramalleolar orthotic, provides more support and is therefore useful in children with more ligamentous laxity, more problems with their alignment, and children who are heavier or taller. So these are some of the various types of orthotics. This is a foot orthotic, and these foot orthotics, or FOs, are specifically from a company called Cascade. Cascade does have regional suppliers in your region so that they can be one option to use for children here. You may find that the physical therapist or physician who is working with you and your child may have another provider who makes orthotics, as many different companies make orthotics. They will help you to choose what the best type of orthotic and the best company to use might be. This orthotic is a custom orthotic. That means that a mold is taken of the child's foot and then the orthotic is made based on the mold. This is a prefabricated, or what some people call off-the-shelf orthotic. This is available by simply taking measurements of the foot and ordering a certain size. These are the UCBL orthotics. These are also examples from the Cascade company. Again, on this side is a custom orthotic. That would require that the child would have a mold or a cast made of their foot. The cast is then sent to the Cascade company where the orthotic is fabricated. I must say that I tend to generally use custom orthotics, although that is certainly not true of many providers. These are the off-the-shelf or prefabricated styles of UCBLs. These are made these are fitted based on, again, measurements from the child. You may be able to notice that the toe portions of all of these orthotics have a thinner plastic or a thinner foam and are flexible. We don't want to use a rigid foot plate. We want the child to be able to get up on their toes and to be able to walk and run easier. The last type that we'll take a look at is the SMO or supramalleolar orthotic. Again, we have a prefabricated style, which is fitted from measurements of the child's foot, and this is the custom orthotic. This again is made from a cast or a mold of the child's foot. This is more customizable as far as colors, designs, and foam. There's also some padding here of the foam. This is the area that encompasses the ankle bones on either side. These orthotics also have a flexible toe plate, so this will bend so that again the child has mobility in their feet and toes. This is one final example of a similar style SMO orthotic, and this is made by a different company called SureStep. This is a picture of a child without the orthotics on, and this is a picture of the child in the orthotics. You get a good idea on this side that the toes become pointed more forward. The tilt of the heel is more upright in the orthotics. This is a close-up view of the SureStep SMO. Again, this is a flexible plastic, as is this actually, but these have a what we call a trim line that comes ahead of the toes. So this does not have a foot portion out towards the end of the toes. One of the things that I want to stress is that orthotic needs typically change as children grow. We may find that as children are young and have a lot of ligamentous laxity and lower muscle tone, they may start with something high and more supportive, such as a supramalleolar orthotic, and then as they grow and develop, may go down to something less supportive, such as the UCBL or foot orthotic. Other times we may find the opposite happening. We may see a child initially that does not have a lot of malalignment or hypermobility, and they may start out with a foot orthotic. We may find, however, as they get bigger and heavier, they may need more support and may need to go up to something such as a UCBL. There can really be any combination of changes that occur and requirements for stability as the child grows and changes. Therefore, it's important to follow them as they grow and develop to best assess what their needs are. Our last major category for objectives is research. We're now going to review some of the recent literature regarding orthotic use in children with Down syndrome. A study by Silverstein, Hillstrom, and Palisano looked at custom foot orthotics and how they positioned the foot and what changes occurred in the gait in children with Down syndrome and orthotics. This was a small study of 16 children, 3 to 6 years old. It did show that the custom orthotics improved the position of the heel, it improved the out-toeing that occurred during gait, and decreased the gait variability. In an additional study by Martin, effects of the supramalleolar orthotics were looked at on postural stability in children with Down syndrome. Martin found that the flexible supramalleolar orthotics, so orthotics similar to the pictures that we just looked at, did have a positive impact on overall postural stability. Again, this was a small study with 17 children with a narrow age range. In another small study, Looper, Benjamin, Nolan, and Shum looked at trying to decide what measurements are helpful in determining which child would benefit from which type of orthotic. I alluded to this a little bit earlier. The conclusion was that the various measurements did not specifically delineate which child should use which orthotic. It did, however, suggest that there was a correlation between the hypermobility in the joints and the weight, as well as the leg length or height of the child in determining which orthotics they would benefit from. In a larger study of 99 children with a limited age range, a group studied the relationship between flat foot conditions and gait alterations in children with Down syndrome. The conclusion was that children with flat foot displayed a less functional gait overall than children who did not have a flat foot. This suggests that the presence of a flat foot led to less functional walking abilities. The overall conclusion from research is that research is really lacking. As we saw, generally the sample sizes are very small and the age ranges are very variable as to which children were studied. As with most things in rehabilitation, there is more research needed to help us to provide more definitive answers. For now, we typically use our clinical experience combined with our limited research to make the best choices for orthotics for children. So in conclusion, in summary, children with Down syndrome have low muscle tone, they have ligamentous laxity, and they have malalignment in their foot and ankle. If we use orthotics, we can stabilize the foot and ankle, and this helps overall with the child's balance and gait. One of the long-term goals of orthotic use is to prevent bad habits and compensatory strategies. These techniques develop when the child is growing and the foot is not supported or aligned properly. And lastly, we know that as children grow and develop, their orthotic needs change. Thus, as a child outgrows their orthotic, they need to be reassessed to determine what is best needed at that time. Thank you very much for your attention. I've enjoyed the opportunity to participate in this session.